Hey there. Ready to jump into the world of inspiring leadership? Today, we're going to explore what really makes people follow a vision, go all in.
It's got to be more than just charisma, right? Like, what's the
Mm.
secret sauce?
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today with Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why.
Ah, classic.
Trying to figure out what motivates people to act, to support a cause, to really buy into something.
And how it goes beyond all those, like, manipulation tactics we see all the time,
Yeah.
the quick tricks to get people to do stuff.
Right. It's got to be about getting to the core why. The
Exactly.
one that really makes a leader stand out, whether it's in business, social movements, you name it.
Yeah, yeah, that's the heart of it, right? That deeper level of motivation that truly connects with people.
Okay, so let's unpack this golden circle thing Sinek keeps talking about.
Yeah, the golden circle.
Because it really is like a light bulb moment.
Yeah, for sure.
He's saying great leaders and organizations, they actually inspire action by communicating from the inside out.
Starting with WHY, they do what they do, yeah. And you got so many companies out there that are so focused on what they offer, how they do it, but the WHY gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, they're all like, hey, look at our shiny features, buy our stuff. But they never really tell us why we should care.
Exactly. It's just a transaction, not about building real loyalty.
Have you ever thought about, like, I bet you've made purchases based on your values more than just needing the item itself.
Oh, absolutely. We all have, I think.
Yeah. And that's the WHY in action, right? Whether it's supporting a certain coffee brand or choosing one airline over another.
Yeah, there's usually a deeper reason.
Okay, this story about the Wright brothers and Samuel Pierpont Langley
Oh, yeah, the Wright brothers.
blew my mind.
That's a good one.
Trying to achieve powered flight, and they both had resources, they both had talent, but only the Wright brothers had that burning WHY.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because on paper, Langley had everything going for him right.
Hmm.
But the Wright brothers were fueled by something deeper, like this belief that it would change the world.
Yeah, and he fell short.
He did.
It's a powerful statement about the power of WHY.
Totally proves Sinek's point. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
It's so true. And think about Apple. Their success isn't just about sleek products, it's that they tap into something bigger.
That desire to challenge the status quo, right? To be different.
Their Think Different campaign wasn't about specs. It was about an attitude, a feeling.
And it resonated with so many people.
Because it spoke to their WHY, that yearning to be part of something that breaks the mold.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, but let's flip the script for a second. What about those companies that rely on all those manipulation tactics? The price wars, the promotions, the fear-mongering. Are they really building lasting connections?
That's the question, right? I think it highlights the difference between short-term gains and genuine loyalty, like what Sinek's getting at.
Like General Motors, they got people hooked on those cashback incentives, but
Yeah, but did it create true loyalty in the long run? Not really.
it's like they created cashback junkies.
Yeah, exactly. People who wouldn't buy without that discount.
Didn't cultivate a love for the brand itself.
Right.
Okay, what about those rebates everyone loves?
Oh, the rebates, yeah.
Yeah, they even work?
Well, Sinek talks about this slippage rate, where people don't even bother to claim them. Like it's dangling a carrot and then snatching it away.
It's like a fleeting illusion of value, right?
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
don't even get me started on the fear tactics out there.
Oh, man, yeah. The fear tactics are everywhere.
Insurance ads preying on your worries.
The weight loss industry promising you a perfect future.
Yeah, playing on our insecurities.
Totally.
But then you've got companies like Southwest Airlines. They've built this huge fan base.
They have, yeah. Loyal customers.
What are they doing differently?
I think it goes back to their WHY, right? They consistently champion the common man, and they've delivered on that promise.
There's that crazy story about Southwest sending a letter to their frequent flyers, being transparent about their financial struggles, asking for support.
And people sent them money.
I know. Crazy.
It's wild. Speaks volumes about the power of that genuine connection.
It shows that when people believe in your WHY, they're not just customers, they're invested.
They're invested, yeah.
But how does this all connect to our decision-making process?
Well, that's where the biology comes in, right?
Hmm.
Sinek explains that the limbic brain, the part that handles emotions and decision-making, it doesn't control language.
So we're making decisions based on feelings we can't even put into words.
A lot of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you buy something and it just feels right,
Yeah.
even if you can't fully explain why.
Like when you buy a new TV, you check the specs, but...
But it's that feeling, that spark of excitement that makes you swipe the card.
Exactly.
And because we can't always articulate that WHY, trust becomes even more important.
You're trusting the brand.
Yeah, you're saying, I trust this company to deliver on its promise, even if I can't fully explain why.
It's like a leap of faith
It is.
based on that feeling.
That gut feeling.
Okay, so that leads us to this law of diffusion of innovations thing, right?
The law of diffusion, yeah.
It explains how ideas spread, and Sinek's saying it's not random.
Not random at all.
You've got those innovators, the early adopters, and then the majority follows.
It's like a wave.
So hitting that tipping point, that 15–18%, is crucial.
That's the magic number, yeah.
But how do you get there?
Sinek believes it's all about the WHY, attracting those early adopters.
The passionate ones.
The ones who are going to spread the word because they believe in what you're doing.
Not just what you're selling.
Exactly. But if you're stuck trying to convince people with features and benefits, you're missing that emotional connection.
It's like TiVo, great product, but they focused on what it did instead of WHY people would want it.
Yeah, they miss that opportunity to connect on a deeper level.
Okay, so how do we build trust and loyalty?
Trust and loyalty, yeah.
Seems like that's so crucial to all of this. And Sinek says, trust is built when people believe what you believe.
It's about finding your tribe, right? Those people who resonate with your values and vision.
Think about Continental Airlines' turnaround under Gordon Bethune.
Oh, yeah, Continental.
Focused on employee well-being, giving them ownership, not just profit.
He created a culture that people believed in.
And they went from like worst to first in on-time performance.
Remarkable turnaround.
It's a great example of how tapping into people's WHY can drive huge results.
For sure. It's not just about customers. It's about everyone involved feeling connected to that purpose.
Yeah, and Southwest Airlines is famous for hiring based on cultural fit, right?
They want people who truly believe in their WHY.
Not just filling a position.
Exactly.
It's like Shackleton's Antarctic expedition.
Oh, Shackleton.
He attracted this super resilient crew by emphasizing the WHY, the challenge, the potential for greatness.
And they survived against all odds.
Inspiring, right?
Super inspiring.
Okay, but once you've found your WHY, staying true to it takes a lot of discipline and consistency.
That's where a lot of companies stumble, right?
Yeah, they start chasing profits or get distracted by the competition, and the original purpose gets lost.
Think about what happened to Walmart after Sam Walton passed away. That core WHY, that belief in serving people, it got diluted.
Yeah, it led to a lot of criticism.
A lot of challenges.
So it's not just about having a WHY, it's about keeping it alive.
At the forefront of everything you do.
Yeah.
Weaving it into your company culture, decision-making, your communication.
I love that story about Christina Harbridge and her debt collection company.
Oh, Christina Harbridge, yeah. Bridgeport Financial, right.
Created a compassionate culture focused on understanding WHY people were in debt.
Seems counterintuitive, but it worked.
It did.
Instead of demanding payment, they listened to people's stories, found solutions.
And guess what? Higher collections and even stronger business relationships.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Shows that even in an industry like debt collection, a genuine WHY can make all the difference.
It's all about human connection.
It is. It is.
Understanding each other on a deeper level.
That's the key, right.
But what happens when that WHY starts to get fuzzy? Companies grow, things change. It's easy to lose sight of what matters.
Sinek says it's a common pitfall.
Yeah.
That original purpose gets lost in the day-to-day operations, and suddenly you're just focused on what you do, not why you do it.
Yeah, and that can suck the passion and inspiration right out of a company.
Think about AOL. Once at the top of their game, but they lost sight of their WHY and just faded away.
It's like they lost their soul.
They did.
That spark.
It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
When that happens.
So this is where strong leadership becomes so crucial.
Leaders need to be the symbols of the belief, constantly reminding everyone WHY, the company exists, why it matters.
Like embodying that WHY.
In everything they do. It makes me think about Bill Gates leaving Microsoft or Steve Jobs coming back to Apple when it was struggling.
It was about more than just management. It was about re-injecting that core purpose.
Absolutely, yeah. And that brings us to Sinek's Why, how, what sequence, which he argues is crucial for building a successful organization, for communicating effectively.
He says you need both, right? The WHY types, the visionaries.
The HRW types, the ones who can make it happen.
And he uses Ron Bruder as a great example, this WHY type, who's driven by finding solutions no matter the challenge.
So he's not stuck in one specific area. His WHY is adaptable.
Like having a guiding principle that informs everything you do.
Exactly. A powerful example of how a clear WHY can empower you to make a real difference in the world.
It's amazing how that simple shift, from what to WHY can have such a huge impact.
Yeah, it's about tapping into that deeper level of human motivation, the stuff that really resonates.
It's like when you think back to Apple's Think Different campaign, it wasn't really about the products, was it?
No, not at all. It was about a belief system, a way of seeing the world.
It was about aligning yourself with those values, challenging the norm.
Yeah, making a dent in the universe. That's why it resonated so strongly.
It wasn't just buying a computer, it was buying into a vision.
Exactly, a vision.
And you contrast that with those companies that just bombard you with like limited time offers and promotions and stuff.
Yeah, it's totally different, isn't it?
Yeah. It's almost like a sense of desperation.
It does, it does. Like they've lost sight of what they're really about.
Like this urgency. You gotta buy NOW.
You're missing out.
But where's the
It's a
connection?
genuine connection.
The feeling like you're part of something bigger.
Right, yeah.
It's like that saying, people buy things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't like.
Oh, that's so true.
It's so true. And then you look at Southwest, it's a totally different story.
Oh, yeah, Southwest, they're different.
They've weathered storms and stayed true to their mission of serving the everyday traveler.
And people love them for it. That loyalty is real.
I mean, we talked about people sending money to an airline
I know, it's crazy.
because they believe in what they're doing.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's unheard of.
It's a testament to authenticity, like actually
Yeah.
walking the walk.
More than just talking the talk.
Way more. Yeah,
But this goes beyond those feel-good stories, right?
it does.
Sinek gets into the biology of it, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, the science behind it all.
He's saying that our decisions aren't as logical as we think.
Not always, no.
We're driven by gut feeling.
By emotion.
Things we can't always explain.
Exactly. Remember that feeling when you buy something and you just know it's right?
Yes.
Even if you can't say why? That's your limbic brain at work.
The part that handles emotions and decision-making.
Exactly. Yeah,
And Sinek says that part of the brain doesn't control language.
it doesn't.
So we might not be able to explain the WHY, but it's driving us.
It's powerful stuff.
So that's why trust is so vital.
Vital. Yeah.
When we trust a company, we're saying, I believe in what you stand for.
Even if you can't explain it.
Even if I can't explain exactly why.
That's it.
It's like trusting your gut.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not just about the product or service. It's about that shared value.
That connection that goes beyond
You
words.
can't manufacture that
No,
with marketing tricks.
nope. Got to be genuine.
So how does a company, especially a growing one, make sure that WHY stays front and center?
That's the challenge, isn't it? As things get more complex.
It's easy to lose sight of it.
It is. It is.
That's where this law of diffusion of innovations comes in, right?
Right. The law of diffusion. Yeah.
It's about recognizing that change doesn't happen overnight.
It takes time.
You got to reach that tipping point.
And the WHY is key to attracting those early adopters.
The ones that are going to kickstart the movement.
Yeah. The ones who really get it.
But if you don't have a clear WHY,
It's tough.
you're just trying to convince people with features and benefits.
And that's an uphill battle, for sure.
It's like trying to sell a car just on its horsepower.
Yeah. You're not going to get that emotional buy-in.
At the end of the day, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
It's all about that emotional core. That part of us that wants to be part of something bigger.
Something meaningful.
Something that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about creating that connection
A sense of shared purpose.
that goes beyond just the transaction.
Exactly. That's what separates the great companies from the rest.
They get it, that the WHY is their greatest asset.
Their superpower.
But having a WHY isn't enough, is it?
It's just the start.
You have to live it, breathe it.
Make it a part of everything you do.
Yeah, consistency is key.
Every action, every decision.
It's got to reflect that WHY.
So otherwise, it's just empty words.
And that's how you build trust, right?
When your actions
You
match
don't
your words
Start to believe in you.
in what you stand for.
Makes me think about Continental Airlines. They were struggling.
Yeah, they were.
But when Gordon Bethune came in, focused on rebuilding trust with employees,
Things changed, didn't they?
everything changed.
It's amazing what can happen when you give people a WHY to believe in.
They went from worst to first in on-time performance because their employees were motivated by more than just a paycheck.
They were. They felt valued, appreciated, part of something bigger.
It's the power of a leader who really gets the WHY.
Who embodies it? Yeah.
Not just managing, inspiring.
Inspiring. Yeah.
And that brings us back to Southwest, where employees are so passionate about the company's mission.
They go above and beyond.
They're not just working, they're living their WHY.
That's what creates a truly exceptional culture, a shared sense of purpose.
And that's what we all want, right? To be part of something bigger than ourselves.
Something that makes a difference in the world.
And Sinek gives us this blueprint for how to do that.
He does, as individuals and as organizations.
It starts with understanding our WHY,
Our reason for being,
making sure everything we do aligns with that purpose.
being intentional with our choices.
It's not always easy,
No, it's not.
but it's worth it, right?
It is. It is.
Because when we live our WHY,
It's a different level of
we
engagement.
unlock this passion, this motivation,
You feel
a
fulfilled.
level of fulfillment you can't get any other way.
Yeah, it's about finding that thing that lights you up, gets you out of bed in the morning.
And when you do, it's like everything changes.
It really does. The world feels different.
The world becomes a brighter place.
It does. More meaningful.
You're more engaged, more passionate, more committed to making a difference.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
But finding our WHY,
And using it to create a life that matters.
a life that feels fulfilling.
Leaving the world a little bit better than we found it.
But as companies grow, keeping that WHY alive, that becomes so much harder, right?
The bigger you get, the easier it is to lose sight of what made you special in the first place.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day.
Sinek talks about this split that happens where the original WHY gets lost in the operations.
You start focusing on all those processes and systems, the metrics.
Yeah, and the passion starts to fade.
It's like the company becomes a machine,
Just churning stuff out, no soul,
and that's when companies start making decisions that don't align.
with the WHY.
They're chasing profits, cutting corners.
They forget what made them successful in the first place.
And it's not just bad for business, it's demoralizing for the people who work there.
Nobody wants to work for a company that's lost its way.
So how do you prevent that? How do you make sure the WHY stays at the heart of it all as you grow?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Strong leadership is key. Leaders need to be those symbols of the belief, embodying the WHY, reminding everyone why it matters.
Walking the walk.
Exactly. More than just talking the talk.
Their actions have to reflect that WHY.
You gotta inspire people to follow.
It's like when Steve Jobs returned to Apple.
Oh, yeah. Jobs. He's a great example.
The company was floundering, but he brought the WHY back with him.
He reminded everyone what Apple was all about.
And it worked.
It did.
Apple went on to become one of the most successful companies ever.
And a lot of that is because Jobs reconnected them with their WHY.
It's a powerful example of what a leader can do.
It is, but it's not just the CEO, right?
Yeah.
Every leader at every level needs to be a champion for the WHY
They have to understand it, believe in it.
and make sure it's reflected in everything they do.
Sinek says it starts with hiring the right people.
Not just skills and experience, but people who share the company's values, who believe in the WHY.
Building a culture where everyone is aligned, working towards a common goal.
Yeah, rowing in the same direction.
And when you have that, the results can be incredible. Like Southwest.
They've got it figured out
Employees are so passionate, they go above and beyond.
because they're living their WHY.
It creates this remarkable culture built on trust and respect.
A shared belief in something bigger.
But what about those companies that have already lost their way? Can they get it back?
It's tough, but it is possible.
It's got to take a lot of soul-searching, honesty.
Yeah, and a willingness to make tough choices.
You got to go back to the roots. What made you special in the beginning?
And be ready to let go of anything that's not serving that WHY anymore.
It's painful,
It is.
but it's necessary to regain that authenticity.
To reconnect with your customers and employees.
Sinek uses the example of Christina Harbridge and her debt collection company.
Oh, yeah. Bridgeport
Yes,
Financial.
she realized that the industry was focused on the what, on collecting debts,
But they'd lost sight of the WHY, which was to help people get back on their feet.
instead of harassing people,
They started listening to their stories.
understanding their struggles, working with them to find solutions.
And it worked. They collected more debts and built stronger relationships.
It's a great example of how, even in a tough industry,
Like debt collection.
you can still achieve success by focusing on the WHY,
It all comes back to that human connection.
remembering that there are real people behind every transaction.
Behind every interaction,
When you treat people with respect, empathy, when you understand their WHY,
you can achieve amazing things
it's a powerful lesson.
for any business, big or small.
So bringing it all together, what have we learned from this deep dive into Start With Why?
It's been a journey.
It seems pretty clear that understanding and communicating your WHY, that's the foundation.
For inspiring action, building loyalty,
Achieving lasting success.
it's not just about what you do or how you do it, it's that WHY.
And that WHY needs to be clear, consistent, ingrained in everything you do.
It's about finding your purpose, your cause.
Letting that drive your actions, your communication.
It's about connecting with people, building trust.
Inspiring them to believe in what you believe.
And when you can do that, you create something truly special.
But maintaining that WHY as you grow, that's a constant challenge.
It is. It is.
It takes strong leadership, clear vision.
A culture built on shared values.
And you got to be willing to adapt and evolve while staying true to that core WHY.
You can't lose sight of it.
Because when you lose sight of your WHY, you lose your soul.
Your spark, your reason for being.
And that's something you can never get back.
No amount of success can replace that.
So to everyone listening, what does your WHY say about you? Think about it.
Because when you find it,
everything changes.
Go out there and make your WHY a reality. The world is waiting.
It feels like we've been talking about companies and organizations this whole time, but this whole WHY thing, it's got to be important for us as individuals too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think Sinek's message applies just as powerfully to our personal lives. Think about it. Have you ever felt that disconnect between what you're doing and what you really care about?
Oh, totally. We've all had those moments, just going through the motions, no real passion behind it.
That's a sign you might be out of touch with your WHY, with that deeper sense of purpose.
Yeah. Like we were saying earlier, companies lose their WHY, and it's not a pretty sight.
No, it's not.
Sinek's example of Walmart after Sam Walton died really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah, Walmart.
Walton had this incredible vision, serving people, giving back to the community.
He genuinely believed that profit was a result of doing good, not the goal itself.
And when that WHY got diluted, things started to unravel.
Yeah, they lost their guiding principle.
And I think the same thing can happen to us, if we're not careful.
Oh, totally. Get caught up in the daily grind, chasing external validation, and you forget what truly matters.
So how do we avoid that? How do we stay connected to our WHY even when life gets crazy?
It starts with self-reflection, taking the time to ask those big questions.
Like what?
What do we value? What drives us? What kind of impact do we want to make?
It sounds simple enough.
It does, but it's harder than it sounds.
I bet it is. We're bombarded with messages about what we should be doing, what success looks like.
All the time, yeah.
It's hard to cut through all that noise and find your own path.
It is. But Sinek reminds us that finding your WHY isn't about looking outward. It's about looking inward.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Understanding your own story, your strengths, your experiences, and seeing the connections.
So it's like piecing together this puzzle of your own motivation.
Exactly. And once you find that WHY, everything else starts to make sense.
It's like it gives you this filter for decisions, for your career, even your relationships.
When you're aligned with your WHY, everything feels more purposeful.
But what about those of us who are still figuring it out? Any tips on how to uncover that WHY?
Sinek suggests, looking back at those times you felt most fulfilled, what were you doing? What impact were you making? What values were you living by?
Okay, so look for those patterns, those moments of joy, those times you felt like you were on the right track.
Exactly. And see if there's a common thread. Maybe it's about creativity, helping others, solving problems.
It's different for everyone.
It is. It's unique to you. But once you find it, man, it lights you up.
It's like finding your superpower.
It is. It gives you direction, purpose.
And then all of a sudden, the world is full of possibilities.
The possibilities are endless.
It's pretty amazing to think about all the things that open up when you know your WHY.
It is. It's powerful stuff.
So as we wrap up this depth dive into Start With Why, what's the biggest takeaway for you?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think for me, it's the realization that success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about why you're doing it in the first place.
Yeah, that's huge.
Whether it's a company, a movement, our own lives, purpose is what gives our actions meaning.
It's not enough to just go through the motions. Got to have that deeper drive.
Yeah, and finding your WHY, it's not just a one-time thing.
No, it's a journey.
It takes constant reflection, challenging yourself.
Staying true to who you are.
Because when we live our WHY, we're not just existing, we're thriving.
We're bringing our best selves to the table.
Making a difference, living a life that feels real and fulfilling.
That's what it's all about.
So, to everyone listening, what does your WHY say about you?
Take some time to reflect on that.
Because when you find it,
everything changes.
Go out there and make your WHY a reality.
The world needs it.